Hello friends, welcome to another episode of Techie Tuesdays. I'm your host and coach S. Ravi Kumar. Techie Tuesdays is a weekly show where I answer to your tech and career related queries. So if you like my answers, please subscribe to my channel and share this series with your friends and colleagues. So without further ado, let's get started with today's questions. So the first question of the show is asked by Janos Krisan. I hope I am pronouncing your name correctly. His question is, in .NET UI UX development for desktop applications, which are the most widely used technologies, WPF, WinForms, etc. So Janos, it's primarily depends on what is the experience level of the developer. If a beginner is planning to develop a desktop application, then the easiest way they choose is WinForms because that's the easiest one to develop Windows application for UI and UX. But like if you talk about professionals and companies, they ideally prefer WPF or UWP. And when we talk about greenfield development, then most of the companies are going through the route of either UWP if they have the expertise available. Otherwise, they are planning to use the web-based technologies so that they can go to cross-platform also. So most of the companies are either going for like Electron.net, or you can say Blazor plus Electron, or Angular using plus Electron. So they are going with this thing. But if you are talking about only .NET based technologies, so in .NET based technologies the choice is mostly between WPF and UWP. And UWP, most of the people use UWP for greenfield projects, but the older projects of 2000s are made in WPF. Next question is from Hitesh. He's asking, can you explain GitHub to a normal person? So Hitesh, for a normal person, I can simply say that GitHub is similar to bank. So as in bank, we keep our cache. Similarly, in GitHub, we keep our source code. So for a programmer, basically his source code is his cache. So just what can happen to your cache at home. So if you keep large amount of cache at home, a theft can happen, burglary can theft and burglary are same. So a theft can happen, or fire accidents can happen, or anything can happen to your money. Even if, like, I'm talking about negative scenario, but positive scenario, nothing can happen also. But when we talk about safety purpose, the bank is the place where we keep our money. In similar terms, GitHub is a bank for software developer where he keeps his code. So source code of the application is like money for software developer because they earn from that. So GitHub is kind of a bank for a software developer. Next question is from Malapalli Shiva Prasad. He is asking, what are the most popular agile methodologies in IT industries? So Shiva, the most popular agile methodology in IT industry, which is I can say more overused, is Scrum. Scrum is like very popular. Every Tom, Dick and Harry is implementing Scrum in their software company, whether it is a 10 people company or a 100 people company, or like not 1000 people company, because larger companies or mediocre companies are using other technologies. Like some of them are using SAFe, that is scaled agile framework. So most of true agilians, or you can say that purist in agile, they don't say that SAFe is a true agile framework. But yes, many companies use SAFe also as an agile framework. But the most used one is of course Scrum, and after Scrums come Kanban, which is like many people even unknowingly use that, because Kanban is the simplest one, where we just have to make 3 columns like to do, doing and done. So that's Kanban. So it's the like I can say that the second number is Kanban, and the third one is extreme programming, that is XP. But XP is not that much popular. The most popular one I would still say is number 1 is Scrum and number 2 is Kanban. So next question is from Aditya Pandey. He is asking, what do you do when you are stuck at some point during programming? Aditya, it primarily depends on what is the time when I'm stuck. So if it is late at 9, preferably I go on like sleeping. So I go for sleep, that okay, I'm stuck there, I can't do anything now. Like if I'm stuck on a problem for more than 15-20 minutes, I preferably find other ways to look solutions for the problem. So one of the problem is like it depends on the time, that if it is late at night, then probably I go for sleep, and if it is in the daytime, then I phone a friend. So I have a circle of friends whom are working on the same technologies. Like that's why I prefer or I suggest people to go into communities and like online communities and offline communities, meetups, to attend and make their network. So I contact friends in my network when I face any problems. So I think that's the best way. And another one is of course doing Stack Overflow, like Google search, Stack Overflow search. But the preferred one is of course phone a friend. So I use number one, phone a friend, and number two, if it's late in the night, then probably I sleep over it. Next question is from Pranagya. He is asking, can I do an MTech in software engineering after a B.Tech in computer science engineering? Pranagya, most of the MTech programs have a requirement to do graduation in any stream. So like you can of course go for MTech in software engineering if you have done B.Tech in computer science engineering, but you need to check with the college where you are applying. So what is their admission criteria? Some colleges specifically look for people who have done B.Tech in the same, like that is software engineering itself, for MTech in software engineering. But I think it's it's probably graduation in any field of like any field of technology will be done, because I remember around 5-10 years back I was thinking of going for MTech, and I see that the requirement was plain graduation or B.Tech. So probably you need to check with the college where you are applying. Next question is from Mukesh. He's asking, are portfolio sites important if you are looking for a software engineer job? Mukesh, no. Portfolio sites are not important if you are looking for a software engineering job or a software developer job. So portfolio sites are primarily for freelancers or for designers. So if you are a like designer, then it's better to have a portfolio site to show that okay, you have done like design these many things. But if you are applying for a software engineer job or a software developer job, it's not required. It's primarily for freelance developers. So when even just like designers, if you are a freelance developer, then you can say that okay, I have created this thing. But if you have experience in development, then mentioning that in your resume will do. More or less, you can also have a good GitHub profile, mentioning contributing to some open source or having some open source project contribution or shown, that would also do, but it's not mandatory. Next question is from Sai Sankar. He is asking, do I have to get a degree to become a full stack developer? Sai, there is no specific degree for a full stack developer, but yes, there are degrees, whether it is Bachelor of Technology B.Tech degree or BCA or BSc. So there are degrees. So yes, of course, you require degree for any IT job in India. That's for sure. Okay. So only after you are experienced and you have shown your caliber in any like open source project or any hackathon or any other place, then only you don't require degree, because by that time you are already a celebrity and might be some company can hire you. But if you are a normal person, then yes, you require degree for any job in IT or any company in India. Okay, that's for sure. But there is no particular degree as for full stack developer. So if you are looking for a job of a full stack developer, so you require a regular degree. So yes, that's a requirement, I would say. Next question is from Abhishek Pratap Singh. He is asking, which open source projects have completely revolutionized their fields? So Abhishek, let me talk about the open source project in my field in which I am working, that is .NET Technologies. And in my opinion, the project which has revolutionized .NET field is Mono. So Mono is basically the open source implementation, black box open source implementation of .NET framework. It was released along with .NET framework back in I think 2002 or 2005. So like .NET framework was regular .NET framework for Windows was released in 2000 2002. Similarly, Mono was released along with that. So after a couple of years, I don't know exactly the year in which it was released, but Microsoft has even sued or uh, uh, charged cases on the developer of Mono, that is Miguel de Casa. So but he has kind of revolutionized this thing .NET framework by creating this Mono framework, because like Mono later on became advanced, become Mono Touch, Mono Droid, and then later it became Xamarin, which Xamarin bought, and then Microsoft moved to .NET, like Microsoft launched .NET Core, which is open source implementation of .NET framework, fresh open source .NET framework, which runs on all the platforms, that is Windows, Mac and Linux. So it's completely cross-platform. So Mono, in my opinion, Mono is the framework which kind of revolutionized the .NET framework space. Next question is from Rakesh Tripathi. He's asking, why are most of the multinational companies still using Windows instead of Linux? Rakesh, I have only one word for this, like in answer to your question, and that answer is support. So most of the companies are using Windows or Mac system just to get corporate support, because in Linux, since it is open source, getting support is a problem, and getting professional support readily available is a problem. Another thing is like easy usability. So Linux is quite I can say cumbersome to understand and use. Frankly speaking, I haven't used or worked on any Linux machine yet. I am working on Mac since last I think 7-8 years, and I have used Windows and still use parallelly still use Windows since the day of my career began, so like around 17-18 years. So yes, Windows, the primary reason is of course support, and second reason is ease of use and availability. So Windows is very easily available as well as easy to use compared to Linux. Next question is from Indrajit. He is asking, what is the definition of a clone in the field of information technology? So Indrajit, clone means like replicating or creating a replica of something. So like I think it was the term was coined along in the science and technology field when they cloned one sheep to create another sheep. So clone is literal meaning of clone is creating replica of something. Similarly, in IT industry also, the clone term is used to creating a replica or a copy of a source code. So usually it was started when we started using GitHub or Git based repository. So Git is like an open source control library framework, open source control framework, and there are multiple implementation of Git. There is GitHub, there is GitLab, there is Bitbucket, and there is many other Git implementation. So clone is the term to copying the source code and creating your own repository of the same source code. So like it's like I'm cloning the repository on my local machine. So that is creating a copy of the code on my local machine. Next question is from Somili Roy. He's asking, what does the project community visitor access control system mean? I am being given this project to submit soon. So Somili, I think you are a college student and you have been given the project to create community visitor access control system. So basically what I am like thinking of, or what the software which came into my mind in very first instance by this is like a software where it's kind of a gate pass system for your local community. So a gated community, you can say. So a visitor access control system means like whenever a new visitor come into your colony, you have to like record her credentials along with the photographs, and then probably an in and out timing. So that is basically, and whether the owner of the flat allows that person to come in or not. So one of the best example I can say is like similar to a app which fulfill this requirement is no broker app, I guess. Yeah, no broker app. So there is a no broker app. You can check it on App Store and Play Store. So that is similar to this visitor access control system. So you can get all the field and all the responses, all the database, all the UI and field and responses from this no broker app, and you can create a project for visitor access system. Next question is from Rajat Kapoor. He's asking, do team leaders in IT companies work on agile projects, do coding, or they do leadership activities like code reviews? So Rajat, let me clarify you one thing first. Code review is not a leadership activity. Okay, leadership activities involve in estimation and people management. So those are basically leadership activities. Code review is not a leadership activity. Code review is basically a peer activity or a seniority activity. You can say that if someone is senior to you and he has good experience, so he is doing code review of your code. Or if there is like peer review also, so if your peer can also do the code review, that whether you are following the proper, because sometimes it happens that in the flow of writing code we do some of the mistakes which we ourselves are not able to catch. That's why we need the second pair of eyes to identify those mistakes. So to identify those mistakes, we usually do the peer review. So like code review and peer review is not leadership activity. So that was that. Now let's get to your main question, that is do they code or not? So yes, everybody in the agile project code. So agile means like everybody has to do these activities, that is coding activities or whatever his and her roles are, along with the other activities. So team lead, most of the times team leads are the scrum masters and they do coding also. Next question is from Alex Murray. He is asking, how do software companies allow working from home along with keeping source code secure? How do you ensure that code is not copied and stolen? So Alex, usually people have trust on their developers, I would say. That is the one thing. Like most of the larger companies, they have trust on their developer, and then there is proper agreements in place, employment agreements in place, which have mentioned that you can't copy, or you can't use their source code or whatever you develop during the time of their official hours is basically their proprietary code or their copyrighted material, which you can't use anywhere. So that is there, and it's primarily based on trust. But the companies which still have some, apart from code, which the company still have some kind of data also, which is kind of mandatory data or sensitive data. So in that scenario, they usually give access, there are a couple of ways to give access to the developer via this. Number one is basically via VPN. So using VPN is the regular way. Even that using VPN, you basically are able to connect to their network, and then you can use their resources. But that is like, you can't stop someone from stealing data. However, everything in when you are using the VPN, every network traffic of that VPN is kind of recorded, so they can track you down if you steal anything. That is one way. Number two way is like most of the small companies, what they do is like they provide a VM for the developer, and the developer can access that VM in read-only mode. So basically what happens that you can access that VM remotely, and then you can work on that VM. That VM will have the access to the source code, and it has all the necessary development environment. Like if the developer is a .NET developer, so the VM will have Visual Studio, .NET and everything installed there, and access to the code and everything. So the developer will develop on that VM, and when he's done, he will just log off from that VM and come back. So from using this mechanism, you can't like copy the data from the VM. So VM will have all the access. It is in their network. You just have to connect to that VM and work on it. So this is the most secure way using which people like make sure that their code is not copied. Yes, there are of course loopholes in this also. You can take screenshot of the code and then write the code line by line, but even that thing I think can be tracked. I'm not a security expert, so I won't be able to tell much about it, that whether it can be copied or not. But these are the two ways I see most of the companies use to secure their data. Number one is VPN, and number two is giving access to whole developer VM. So using developer VM, they can develop, the developer can work directly on the VM itself. Next question is from Priya Lohia. She's asking, what is the point in asking tough questions in an interview when we know that the candidate is a fresher or inexperienced? Priya, most of the interviewers don't ask question out of your syllabus. So usually when the interviewer goes for taking an interview for a fresher, so he knows that what he has to ask to the person. So the question which you are saying as a tough question is basically a tough question from your syllabus itself. So even if you doesn't have any experience, but you should, if you have read properly, or if you have prepared properly for your exams, you would be able to answer that question. At least that's what I have felt during my the interviews which I have taken, like most of the time, and which my colleagues have taken or my friends have taken. Like I have spoken to them, and they usually say that we generally ask the person itself, like if someone is a fresher, so we ask that what do you know about and which thing you have worked on, and then we ask basic question based on that technology. Most of those questions are kind of a theoretical question. Let's say somebody says that I'm good at database, we know good about database, what kind of database are and all those things. So we generally ask them, we start with that, okay, tell us what are the 12 core rules of RDBMS. So if you have read like DBMS or database management system seriously in your college education, you should know about these 12 rules, which are kind of theoretical rule, and we don't expect you to remember all the 12 rules. Even if you tell just couple of rules like normalization and a couple of more details about those rules, then we consider that okay, yes, you have done something seriously. Or if it is like the questions are primarily from your resume itself, like if you have mentioned that okay, I have created this project, and so our expectation from you is like you will tell us that what you have done coding wise, what you have done technically in that project, so that we can judge that what is your analytical skill and what is like how do you solve problems. That is the main criteria of having a fresher interview. So those are my answer to your tech and career related queries in this episode of Techie Tuesdays. If you want your question to be featured in next episode of Techie Tuesdays, you can DM me your questions on any social media platform. I'm Techie Rathore everywhere with just a hashtag Techie Tuesdays. I hope you like this video, and if you like this video, then please subscribe to my channel and share this video with your friends and colleagues. So until my next video, take care. Bye bye.